Welcome back, everyone. So in this video, I kind of want to go over my deck that I played in the Webcam Regional that just happened this past weekend as of recording. We had the Season 1 of 2024 Webcam Regional. This is actually the first webcam event I've ever played, and I did probably my personal best. I came in 26th place out of 104 people. Which, given the margins, doesn't sound like a very good placing. It doesn't sound like a lot, but is my personal best that I've done in any regional, 26th place, and being in top 32 got me 5 championship points. So that's what I wanted to do. I wanted to at least place to get extra championship points, and I made that goal. Funny thing is, I played Fourth Kind, which is a character I've never played competitively before. When he was first released in Crimson Rampage, I built one just kind of for giggles, just to goof off with a little bit, but then I kind of shelved him. And originally, I was going to build a Bakugo 4 deck off of Void, very similar to the Bakugo 4 deck I put on my channel, except updated for Yu Yu Hakusho. And it was all about tearing through my opponent's hand and using cards like Hold Hostage and Unbreakable to make sure I never took damage, and it was really fun. But I wanted to test it against younger Toguro, him being the big boogeyman of the format. And I've got a friend, Josh, who plays very casually. Nothing against casual play, but when you're testing for competitive play, casual is kind of not the format you want to be playing, and he has a younger Toguro deck. So I asked if I could run a few games against him. And I won, but I felt like I really had to work for it. I felt like even against a casually built, not competitively minded younger Toguro, I was struggling to find my wins. And that just really messed with me mentally because it was like a week and a half before the tournament, and I was going all in on this Bakugo. And I just had no idea what I was going to do. And I crawl into bed one night, my wife's already asleep, and as I lay my head on the pillow, you guys have a inner monologue where you hear your own voice in your own head narrating your thoughts sometimes? Well, I have one. And I heard it coming from the foot of my bed, like I heard my voice outside my own head saying, "You know Fourth Kind can walk the dog, right?" Just popped my head off my pillow, started looking around like, where the hell did that come from? So I shrugged, I went to bed. In the morning, I thought, Fourth Kind can play walk the dog. I wonder if there's anything to that. So I mocked up a list, and I built a very basic version of the deck you see here. This is what I'd call like the 1.5 version. This is not the perfect version. I did not have the time to gather all of the cards I wanted for the perfect version, because that's what happens when you build your deck 4 days before the tournament. Even worse, I made final preparations 2 days before the tournament. When I submitted all of my paperwork, I was editing my deck in real time. And I've just found this idea of Fourth Kind turning Walk the Dog, which says, as a static, it gets -1 difficulty, max -4, for each of your rival's committed foundations. Fourth Kind can commit 4 foundations as long as your rival has 6 or more once per game, automatically turning Walk the Dog into a 4 diff. I thought that was pretty cool, so I wanted to run with it. And the whole time I'd been thinking, even though I wanted to play Bakugo, that 2 cards I wanted to guaranteed be able to use are Blood Curdle for defensive characters like Amajiki or Mirio, or now, as I've known, Mineta too. We'll get into that in a minute. And Searing Glacial Storm for characters like younger Toguro, Kuwabara, who wants to build this massive stage, or I found that in competitive tournaments, I hit these wall decks. Like, it's been All Might 3, it's been Mirio, just these decks that just want to build the 15 foundations, you're not going to touch them, and they're just going to block forever. So Searing Glacial Storm was on my mind, so I figured okay, maybe I just need to build an order deck, since Blood Curdle and Searing Glacial Storm both have order, and that kind of fit with this fourth kind idea. So, I want to kind of take you guys through the deck and the weird machinations of my mind that brought me to some of the stranger decisions that I made, and then tell you kind of what I would have chosen had I had more time to actually acquire the cards I needed. So starting with our man here, fourth kind, he's a 5-hand size, 34 health character. He's an Earth, Fire, and Order character. He has a static that says the fourth card you try to play during your combat phase gets -4 difficulty, and if it's an attack, it also gets +4 damage, which is amazing, because if you can play Walk the Dog as a 4 difficulty, and then play it as your fourth card, it's a 0 difficulty, 6 low 6. Correction, a 0 difficulty, 6 low 10. So you're playing this on a 3. It's amazing. I love it. He has an enhance once per game, only on your turn. If your rival has 6 or more foundations, they commit 4 foundations, which is great. That actually helped me seal a couple games against Endeavor 3, which is the most character I've saw the whole tournament. I only saw one younger Toguro, despite teching this specifically for that matchup. And I got trounced in round 1 by a younger Toguro, by a very talented UK player. They played great, and I just got stomped. But I saw 3 Endeavor 3s, which is a character I was not prepared for. And I did happen to win all 3 matches. One of them, my opponent was choosing to drop from the tournament, so she gave me the win. But I had game 1 in hand, but given the deck that she was playing, I might have struggled to try to secure that second win in that match. But my other 2 Endeavor 3 matches went to overtime, to a point where I had to play absolutely out of my mind on the final turn, tap down 4 foundations, and just go for broke. I also played against a Mount Lady 2, I should say, which was fun, except in my rival's words, she was a brat. And she did not let him check well all match. Let's see, there was also the Vash the Stampede player who made top 8. He knocked me out of the top 16. That was fun. I might have made top 16 had he not just trounced me with his infinite combo, which was great. Very, very well-built deck, very good lines. My final round was against a Mineta 2, which was rough. Oh no, my chances of top 8 got knocked out by the Vash. My chances of top 16 got knocked out by the Mineta. So it was 3 Endeavor 3s, Mineta 2, Mount Lady 2, Younger Toguro. I knew I'd missed someone. Younger Toguro, Mount Lady, 3 Endeavor 3s, Vash. Oh, Vash and then Mineta 2. So that's all 7 rounds. So, yeah. I learned from this tournament that if I'm going to be doing webcam tournaments more often, I need a better chair. Because I've just got this rickety, wood-backed kitchen chair. I'm not a professional gamer. I don't have a gamer setup. So yeah, sitting in this for 9 hours, 10 hours, it was not fun. I did not appreciate that. But, also, going back to fourth kind, as a response, he can commit himself. If you block with an attack, you add it back to your hand. And you'll see why some of these attacks are really good to play defensively as well as offensively. So speaking of our offensive line, we start with 3 Ogre Boulder. This is a 4 difficulty, 3 control, 3 high for 5 with a +3 mid block. It's got ranged, stun 1, and Team Rokuyukai stun 1. We're not Team Rokuyukai, but we'll take the regular stun 1. It has 2 enhances, the first of which is if your rival has 2 or more face-down foundations, this attack gets +2 speed. And the second enhance says if your rival has 3 or more committed foundations, this attack gets +2 damage. So it could be a 5 high for 7, which, with a lot of flip costs, with a lot of characters building cards face down, you're usually going to get the 2 speed, but mainly the 2 damage for the 3 committed foundations was always a non-starter. Almost every attack in this deck has stun, except for, okay, 4 out of the 7 different attacks in this deck have stun. So you're going to be committing your rival's foundations. Next up, we have 3 Around the World, a 5 difficulty 2 control, which did come back to bite me a few times, 4 mid, 6, plus 2 mid block. It's got ranged, stun 1, and throw. It has a Team Rokuyukai enhance, which we're going to ignore because we are not Team Rokuyukai. And it has an enhance, discard 1 momentum, add 1 copy of Around the World or Walk the Dog from your discard pile to your hand. So if I've checked a Walk the Dog, I can just pick it right back up. And this was my main momentum out. Aside from the powerful 3 on Walk the Dog, Around the World was really the only way I was using momentum. Except for maybe Childlike Appearance as well. But this was my main go-to. I would keep 1 or 2 momentum just so I could pick up more attacks. And it really served to help me. And if I play this as my 4th card, it's a 1 difficulty, 4 mid for 10 throw. Which came in handy, to say the least. Especially on like a turn 2 as a poke. It's a pretty big poke. And then we have the titular Walk the Dog at a 4 of. It's an 8 difficulty, sometimes. 3 controls, 6 low for 6, plus 2 low block. It has powerful 3, ranged, weapon, and stun 1. It's got the static that if it gets -1 difficulty for each committed foundation in your rival stage to a max of 4, so it can become a 4 difficulty attack, which, for the most time, for me, it was. And then it says enhance, draw 1 card for each copy of Walk the Dog in your card pool. And that's also really critical. 4 out of my 7 attacks draw me a card, or have the potential to draw me a card. 5 if you include Around the World just picking up an attack from my discard pile. This deck, this character, drew amazing. Like, so many good draws. I remember in initial testing, my first match, I played 5 attacks in 1 turn, and ended my turn with 11 cards in hand, because of the attacks that I was able to play to keep drawing, and it was insane. It was great. Moving on, we have 4 Mop Strike. This is quickly becoming a contentious card in the format. It is a 4 difficulty, 3 control, 4 high for 4 with a +1 mid block. It's got Desperation 3 and Weapon. Desperation 3 meaning if I am at, let's see, I'm at 34 health, so if I'm at 16 health or less, Mop Strike becomes a 3 difficulty attack, which is pretty cool. And it says enhance, discard 1 card, your rival discards 1 random card, both players draw 1 card. So I filter out usually a foundation I don't need, I draw a card, and I can pluck maybe a random high block out of my rival's hand so that they can't block this. I've done that. I did that a couple times during the tournament. And then enhance, if your rival has discarded a card this turn, draw 1 card. So if I use Mop Strike and then play another Mop Strike, I don't have to use the discard. I can just freely draw a card if I wanted to, unless I'm trying to cycle my rival's hand out and get an extra draw at that point. Then we have 2 Lonely Vile Seizings. A 4 difficulty, 3 control, 3 high for 4 with a +1 high block, Breaker 1, and Fury. So Breaker 1, for those who may not know, if I block with this card, your next check is going to get -1. Really solid, a really great block for the +1 high. A lot of characters are going for a mono highs package with Falling Skies, or a lot of Death to Younger to Girlists are just playing a bunch of high attacks like Mop Strike, 45% power, stuff like that, so you can full block Breaker, and then commit 4th kind to pick your Breaker block back up. And several times I would just block with an attack, pick it back up, and play it on my turn, but a couple of times I did have to double Breaker block my opponent. This has an enhance that says your rival makes a check against a difficulty of 7. If they fail, draw 1 card, and this attack gets +2 damage. So it can become a 3 high for 6, and draw me a card. Now sometimes it draws me a card and becomes a 6 damage attack. Other times it commits at least 2 foundations in my rival's stage, which means Walk the Dog is even cheaper. So if my rival sees me check a Walk the Dog and then play a Vile Seizing, they've got a tough choice to make. Am I holding another Walk the Dog, and they're making it easier for me to play and harder for them to block? or do they just give me the card and hope that they can block whatever I throw at them? And then it has a Deadlock Enhance. Your rival's checks get -2 for the rest of the turn, which did come in handy. I think in 2 different matches I was able to pull off the Deadlock Enhance because I was throwing so much stun at my rivals, they had to build into Deadlock to keep up with me. So I play this as my opener. Your checks get -2 for the rest of the turn. Add to that all of the stun and my high speed moves, you're not blocking at all. You're just going to take everything to the face. Speaking of taking everything to the face, probably the most underrated attack in this deck, Shards of Winter. A 4 difficulty, 3 control, measly 1 mid for 5, with a +2 mid block. It's got ranged and stun 1. And it says, enhance, this attack gets +X speed, X equals the number of committed rival foundations. There have been times where I've put 8 or 9 speed on a Shards of Winter, and my rival's suddenly staring down a 9 or 10 speed move out of nowhere. Especially if I play this as my 4th move, it becomes a 0 diff. So play it on a 3, and it's a 7, 8, 9 mid for 9, because it gets the +4 damage. And then it says, if this attack deals damage, draw 1 card. So it can become, it's pretty much a very good mid-string attack when I've already stunned them out a little bit, maybe 5 or 6 foundations committed. Play this, get 5 or 6 speed, deal the damage, draw a card, play my Walk the Dog, draw a card, throw big damage, and it's just, the amount of times that Shards of Winter caught people off guard for people saying how bad the card is was absolutely hilarious, and I adored it. And lastly, a late addition to my attack lineup, Haymaker. A 5 difficulty, 3 control, 4 mid for 5 with a +2 mid block. It's got Breaker 1, Flash, Fury, and Punch. It's got 2 other responses on it. Flash meaning there is no enhanced step. You play the card, you play your responses to the card being played, you move to block step. Which is really handy, especially as like a late string card, when your opponent's already tapped out and they can't reduce its speed or anything. This says, response, after you block with this card, your rival must play an attack as their next form or discard 1 card. Which is brilliant, because it has Breaker to reduce their check. And there were a couple of times during the tournament where I would block with a Haymaker, give them Breaker, so their next check gets -1, force them to play an attack as their next form, and then commit 4th kind to pick Haymaker back up. So then if they play an attack, you know, they have the -1 to their check, they usually have to commit some foundations, block with Haymaker again, Breaker block them again, and then force them to either play an attack or discard a card. So if they choose to play that foundation, they have to lose another card in their hand. That's 1 less block going into my turn. Very solid defensive attack. And then another response, after you play this attack, it gets +1 damage for each card committed to pass the check. So what I would do is I'd play, 4 attacks, with the 4th one usually being a Walk the Dog, drawing me cards. It's a 6 low for 10. And then if I have the foundations for it, I'd throw a Haymaker at 9 difficulty, hoping to check a 5 to commit 4 foundations and throw a 4 mid 9 that my rival usually can't block. Really cool, really solid. Or I play it as a mid-string attack as like my 3rd card on a 7. Maybe I check a 5 and this is a 4 mid 7. Maybe I check a 3 and this is a 4 mid for 9. And then you gotta deal with that and hope I don't throw a Walk the Dog as my 4th card. So really cool, really good tech. I loved it. It felt really good to play. Didn't get to play it much. Sometimes I just checked it, but it was still pretty fun. Moving on to non-attack cards, I had 2 Idun Box. This is an asset, 2 difficulty, 5 control, +2 low block, and the unique keyword, so you can only have 1 in your stage at a time. Enhance, commit, return this attack to its printed speed and damage, return it to its printed zone, and if it was unblockable, it is no longer unblockable. This was a very key defensive piece for me. And I loved seeing it turn 1 because I could play 3 foundations, play this with -4 difficulty, so it's a difficulty of -2. So technically, I play it on a 2. Even if I check my 2 check, it passes. So I loved seeing this card turn 1 because it guaranteed I would either be able to block something or I would take way less damage than normal, which only extended my already huge health pool of 34. I think, aside from Byakko, Fourth Kind might be the highest health character in the game right now. And he made that health work. I made my opponents work to chew through me every chance I could get. Just reducing speed to make things blockable, it unboxed to reduce damage. It was great. Moving on to actions, I mained 2 Blood Curdle. It's a 4 difficulty, 4 control, plus 2 mid-block. It says form, remove, commit 1 foundation, commit your rival's character. So Mirio can't reduce my damage to 0. Amajiki can't reduce my damage to 0. Mineta 2 can't reduce my speed to 0. That came in handy a lot. Unfortunately, I didn't play a lot of defensive characters. Aside from the Mineta 2 at the end of the tournament, everyone else I played was offensive. So I often ended up siding the Blood Curdles out for the 2 Genkai's guidance in my side, and we'll go over the sideboard here in a little after the main deck. It also has a response, remove after your rival readies a foundation during the combat phase, commit it, and draw a card. That never came in handy, that never came up. It was mainly Blood Curdle here to just commit your character if it's a defensive character, and aside from the Mineta 2, I never played a Blood Curdle. So, didn't really need it. I should have mained the 2 Genkai's guidance, but I thought if I was going to run into a defensive character, I wanted to have the Blood Curdles mained so that I'd have that leg up in the initial game 1 of the match. And of course, I had 2 showdowns. A 3 difficulty, 4 control, plus 3 high block. Excuse me. This says response. After you block with this card, commit 2 rival foundations. I block with showdown. I get to choose which 2 of your foundations go sideways. And then going into my turn, if you have 6 or more, I can commit 4 more. This is an amazing peak defensive piece. So one of the changes I'd probably make would probably be increase the number of showdowns, maybe 3, because I got hit by a lot of high blocks throughout the tournament. So it kind of sucked. And then I have a response, commit 2 foundations. After your rival plays an ability on an action card, cancel it. That never came up. I don't think my rivals ever played any actions I needed to worry about, except for the younger Toguro player who was on all playing Sugar Rush power-up. But at that point, I didn't have the showdowns in hand to worry about it. Moving on to the foundations, I've got 4 Acrobatic Style. This is a 1 difficulty, 5 control, plus 3 low block. It says response, tenacious, or playable while committed. Flip, after a rival foundation is committed due to your effect, ready this card. I have 4 different stun attacks in my deck. I have Showdown to defensively commit your foundations. So this was just flipping up and down all over the place. I had 1 Childlike Appearance. This was another one of my momentum outs. It is a 2 difficulty, 4 control, plus 2 high block. It says Enhance Destroy, discard 1 momentum, reduce this attack speed to 0. If it's blocked, commit 1 rival foundation. Again, I get to choose which foundation. So, at one point, I actually used Childlike Appearance in conjunction with Showdown to target down 3 rival foundations. It was ridiculous. I absolutely loved it. It was such a solid just commit 3 and pray that your turn ended. And I would probably put more than 1 in here. I just figured I had enough speed hate, but honestly, I could probably use another 1. I had 4 Botan's Coaching, a 0 difficulty, 5 control, 3 mid block. It says Enhance Flip, both players discard a card and draw 1 card. Like I said, this Order 4th Kind deck draws a billion cards. I was ending my turn with more than 5 cards in my hand at any given time. Sorry, Sam. My cat decided to get underfoot. That was another thing. The cats did not like being shut out of the office, so I probably have to figure out a way to do that, but I didn't want them jumping up on everything. But yeah, Botan's coaching, not much to say about it. Filters a card out of my hand, gets me a draw. Most of the time it drew me Foundations, which I hated, but it was fine. Then I had one copy of the new number 1, a 3 difficulty, 5 control, +2 high block, and the unique keyword. It has a static that says it cannot be sealed, which never came up. It has a pro hero enhance, once per turn, mill 2, unseal 1 card in your stage. Again, never came up, because the only time I had sealed Foundations, I did not have the new number 1 on board. And then enhance, commit, return this attack to its printed speed. This attack gets +1 or -1 speed. So, very often, I would wait for my Endeavor 3s to do all of their big speed boosts, and then I would just set it to printed, reduce it by 1, and then block with a breaker or a showdown. So, that's about the only time new number 1 came in handy, but those times were handy. Then I had 2 Elasticity, a 2 difficulty, 5 control with a +3 high block. As a response, you can flip it. After an attack is blocked, the next attack this turn gets +3 or -3 damage. Usually, I did this for the -3 damage to help myself stay alive, but I did do the +3 damage a couple of times if I knew I was going to play into my Around the World or my Haymaker, or just something I knew my opponent didn't have the stats to defend against. Say they're all stunned out and I'm playing my 4th attack. If they block the 3rd attack, I'm going into that 4th attack with 3 extra damage. And then response, flip. After your rival plays a stun ability, cancel it, and add the top card of your deck to your momentum. That never came up. I didn't get stunned very much, except against the Vash player who was giving all of his punches stun 1 thanks to Power Gloves, or the Air Force Gloves from Midoriya 5's kit. Then we had Seasoned Brawler, a 1/5 with a +2 high block. It says response, flip. After your rival blocks with an attack, draw 1 card, playable while committed. My rivals didn't block with a lot of attacks, at least not while Seasoned Brawler was on board, sadly. So this kind of just sat there. But something that didn't just sit there was Sense of Justice, and I am realizing now that most of my high blocks are on my Foundations, which is fine, I guess. But Sense of Justice is a 2 difficulty, 5 control with a +2 high block. It says, enhance, commit, name a keyword. Your rival's attack gets -X speed or -X damage. X equals the number of attacks with that keyword in their card pool. All of the Vash cards were Punch. All of One Endeavor's cards were Fury. One of them was all ranged. Mount Lady played a lot of Fury attacks. Mineta played all Fury attacks. So running into all of these tribal, that's the word I'm looking for, tribal attack lines, Sense of Justice put in work to either make sure I could guarantee completely block something or take almost no damage or even 0 damage from a lethal attack. Then I have 3 Saving Bakugo, a 0/5 with a +3 mid-block and the ally keyword. It says response, flip. After one of your Foundations is flipped due to a rival effect, unflip it and draw 1 card. I actually had a player use Seizing the Advantage to flip, I think it was Sense of Justice, and not noticing that I had the Saving Bakugo on board, so I flipped Saving Bakugo to unflip my Sense of Justice and draw a card, and they were not happy with themselves. The turn went well for them anyway. The Sense of Justice didn't put in that much work on that turn, but it was just kind of a funny little haha moment. Then I've got 4 Drowning in Resentment. This is a 2 difficulty, 5 control with a +2 high block. It says enhance, flip. This stun attack gets +2 or -2 damage, playable while committed. That's the main reason I put this card in the deck, was to get a bit of a boost to my stun attacks, because I noticed outside of Fourth Kind himself I was lacking in damage boost. But the response for this came in more handy than I gave it credit for. Response, flip. After a card leaves a discard pile due to your rival's non-character effect, they add the top card of their deck to their card pool face down. So whenever Mount Lady used Titan's Cliff to build in a 6-check, I added the top card of her deck to her card pool. Usually followed by a Vile Seizing Breaker block. I think one of my Endeavor opponents also did something with their card pool I don't know if it was to remove something, or for their discard pile. I don't know if it was to pick something up or to remove something. But I had 2 of these on board, and I was able to stuff 2 cards in their card pool. And that allowed me to survive a turn I would have died. It was very clutch. So the response on Drowning in Resentment, way better than I thought it was going to be, considering I just put this in here for the +2 damage to my stun moves. Then we have Ice Gliding at a 3 of. It's a 1 difficulty, 5 control, +3 mid-block. It says Enhanced Commit. This attack gets +1 or -2 speed. If it is blocked, the next attack this turn gets +1 or -1 speed. I mainly use this for the speed reduction, so that I can continue to, like, say, block with a Haymaker, Breaker, make you play an attack, pick it back up. Your next attack comes in with -1 speed, so I could block you with a Breaker again. But there was 1 or 2 times I did use it to speed boost my own attacks, just to make sure they would connect at crucial points in the game. Next up, we have Making a Stand at a 4 of. A 2 difficulty, 5 control with a +3 low block, excuse me. It says Enhance Flip. Your rival discards 1 momentum. This was partially in here for Amajikis or for Togata, Mirio Togata, so that he wouldn't be able to zero out my attacks. I also used it against Medetta 2, so it couldn't zero out the speed on my attacks. And then Enhance, your stun attack gets +1 damage. So it's also in here for boosting the damage on my stun attacks, so it makes sure that I can put a little bit more damage out there, but also defensively I can get rid of my rival's momentum. Then I've got 3 You're Finished, a 0/5 with a +3 low block. It says Enhance Flip. If the top card of your discard pile is a copy of this attack, draw 1 card. That never came up. But sometimes I noticed I was checking a Walk the Dog to play a Walk the Dog, and I figured that could be helpful there. But the Deadlock Enhance did come in handy. When my rival's built into Deadlock, I can commit this card to target commit 1 rival foundation. So a lot of my abilities allow me to choose which of your foundations you're committing outside of the stun, of course. So a lot of targeted committal to make sure that I can tap down the most defensive key pieces that you have. Then I've got 2 Mastermind's Apprentice, a 2/5 with a +2 mid-block. This was mainly here to help me get out of Deadlock, because Order really lacks lock breakers. So Mastermind's Apprentice was good. It allows me to remove a foundation. My rival makes a check against a difficulty of 6. If they fail, this attack is +2 or -1 speed. So I can put 2 speed on a Walk the Dog, or a Vile Seizing, or an Ogre Boulder, or Around the World. Or, if you check to 5, you can commit a foundation. Either way, I'm getting a little bit of speed extra on that, or it allowed me to reduce speed to allow me to block better. And probably another card that put in a surprising amount of work, Strength and Beauty. This is a 2/5 with a +3 low block. It says Enhanced Commit. Your mid-attack gets +2 speed. So either Shards of Winter gets +2 speed, or Around the World gets +2 speed, which I actually did use it on Around the World once. But it's mainly in here for the other enhance. Tenacious Remove. Choose an attack in your rival's card pool. It cannot leave the card pool during this combat phase. This stops Award the Victor, which I found out against the Vash player. I was able to shut off his infinite loop for all of 3 minutes until he found a way around it. But it stops Younger Toguro from building his attacks down. Granted, you only get to choose 1, but if you have this against his first attack, he has to play with that progressive difficulty for the rest of the turn. So it makes him play a little bit more fair, and it's a tenacious ability. It's playable while committed. So you can commit this on your turn and remove it on your rival's turn so that they can't remove that attack chosen from the card pool if it has a self-clearing effect. If, like I said, if it's Younger Toguro, or if they have other card pool clearing effects, that card cannot leave. And that ability came in hella clutch the couple of times I had to use it. It was just really, really solid. So if you're looking for a way to kind of hamper some of these decks that can remove their own progressive difficulty, Strength and Beauty is the way to go on all good and order. I stand by this card 100%. Moving into the side deck, I have one Blood Curdle, again, in case I played against any defensive decks. I didn't until the final round, so my 2 Blood Curdles came out for the 2 Genkai's Guidance. This is a 1/5 with a +3 low block. It says, first form remove, discard 1 card, your rival discards 1 card. So if you only have 1 card going into my turn, I can guarantee that if I've got a whole bunch of attacks that draw, it doesn't matter to me, because I'm just going to draw a whole bunch of cards. And then response, destroy 3 foundations. After your rival plays an attack, remove it from the game. So this is a press the button, get rid of this card that's going to kill me. And the couple times I did play Genkai's Guidance, it put me at a severe foundational disadvantage, but I survived the turn, and I was able to claw back some of that lost ground, usually by reducing the difficulty of my attacks and drawing a whole bunch of foundations. So, came in handy. Then I've got 3 Searing Glacial Storm. This is a 5 difficulty, 2 control, 2 high for 6 with a +1 mid-block, ranged and stun 2. It has an Order first enhance, so you can only play the first enhance if you are an Order character. Both players remove foundations in their stage until they each have 5. End this enhance step. So, if I was going against younger Toguro, or, like I said, if I had faced like a Kuwabara, or someone who really wanted to build into that thick-walled deadlock, I would probably bring in the Glacial Storms for the Around the Worlds, so I'm not playing a whole bunch of 2 checks, just to guarantee I could set us both to 5 foundations, because then if you just play 1 more foundation, 4th Kind's ability is live. So it kind of puts me at more of an advantage having the lower foundations, because I can just set so many of yours sideways at a time. It kind of just puts me more in the driver's seat. Only 1 Absorbed Spirit Energy Strike. This is a card I wished I could have got more of before the tournament, but sadly, when you figure out your deck 2 days before the tournament, you don't have a lot to work with. It is a 4 difficulty, 3 control, 4 mid for 3 with a +2 high block. It says, response, after you block with this card, flip the blocked attack after it resolves, add the top card of your deck to your momentum. So, I believe this stops younger Toguro. This stops anyone who's trying to use Echo cards. It denies your rival momentum. It gains you momentum. And 4th Kind can pick it back up to play it again. So I can deny you 2 foundations, or 2 momentum. I can block 2 younger Toguro cards, force you to play with 2 progressive difficulty. Really solid card. And then enhance, your rival discards 1 momentum. This attack is +X damage. X equals the top card of your rival's discard pile, or the discarded momentum as it says, which is usually like a 4 or a 5, so this can become a 4 mid for 7 or a 4 mid for 8. Even more so if it's my 4th card that I play in the turn. So it's momentum hate, damage boost, and it's a really solid block. Really good defensive piece. So I wished I could have got more of it. Unfortunately, I just didn't have the time or the resources. Then I have 2 Vanquishing Punch. This was another really cool piece to bring in when my rivals wanted to build big. It's a 5 difficulty, 3 control, 3 low for 6 with a +2 high block. It's got punch and stun 1, so another stun attack. And usually I brought this out instead of the Haymakers or instead of the Ogre Boulders, because it says enhance. If your rival has 8 or more foundations, this attack gets +3 speed. Becomes a 6 low for 6, or as my 4th attack, a 6 low for 10, which is solid. And then enhance, if this attack deals damage, which as a 6 low for 10, if I've tapped you all the way out, it's going to. If this attack deals damage, discard 1 rival momentum. So I get to pick. So if you have any face-up momentum, it's going away. So I brought this in against momentum decks like Moneta 2, and decks that wanted to build. If I noticed my rival was trying to outbuild me in order to just throw a huge kill turn at me, and hope that I can't swing back on my turn and just tap their whole board sideways, I would side in the Vanquishing Punches for that extra speed to guarantee those attacks would hit. And then I had 1 Fruits of Our Labors, a 1/5 with a +2 low block. mainly for the enhance on my rival's turn, remove, discard 2 cards from your card pool. I was worried about seeing Kurama, and I didn't want to deal with that. So I put in a Fruits of Our Labors on the side, and then as a deadlock form, I can flip it. My rival builds a card from their hand face down. So again, if you're trying to build into deadlock to deal with all of my stun and targeted committal, I can force you to build a card out of your hand, and that's 1 less block you get. Moving into what I would change, I would definitely want to see 4 Vile Seizings. I think this card would be amazing to guarantee that check to draw. It's a breaker. I might trade out the Haymakers for Vile Seizings, but I'm not sure, because I do like Haymaker forcing either another attack or a discard, so I might swap out Ogre Boulders for 2 more Vile Seizings. And then, like I said, I'd probably play a 3rd Showdown. I might play like 1 Genkai's Guidance in the main, and then take out the other Blood Curdle to the side for the 3rd Showdown. So I'd side 2 Blood Curdles, and then main the 1 Genkai's Guidance. And I'd like to have more Absorbed Energy Spirit Strikes as a very good defensive attack to block with, and then return it to my hand. And probably another Childlike Appearance. This is kind of Order, Chaos, and Air's answer for Shield Barrier. True, I don't get the Breaker 2, and it costs me a Momentum, but it does allow me to target commit a foundation that I know you're going to need. So that's really, really good. And a couple of times I was able to get that off. It was usually paired with a Showdown, so I was able to target commit 3 cards, which is insane. But also, as much as I love 4th Kind, and that commit 4 foundations, and the fact that my 4th card is basically free, I think I'm going to take most of this kit, this deck here. I'm going to see what it looks like on Toya, because Toya allows me to force commits every time I block, so combine that with Childlike Appearance, combine that with Showdown, just tap my opponent's whole board on their turn, and I can still play the Vile Seizings, I can still play Shards of... I can play this entire attack lineup with a straight face in Toya. Draw a bunch of cards, play the Walk the Dogs at 4 diffs. I'd probably just have to change a couple of other cards around, but I'd like to see what a 7-hand size character could do with this kit. Because as a 4th Kind, I was kind of banking on taking a lot of shots to the face until I could build up my kill turn. But with a 7-hander, especially if I go second, which I love going second because I like that extra card draw, going second and being able to build like 5 on turn 1, and going second to have like 3 cards in my hand to block with, I think would be really solid with this type of draw a bunch of cards, commit a bunch of cards playstyle. So I do love 4th Kind, and I'm definitely going to keep him in mind for this deck, but I do want to see what someone like Toya can do with this. And especially since Toya gets that -X speed or +X speed, depending on the committed foundations once per turn, to guarantee a block or guarantee a hit, where 4th Kind kind of struggled with speed. Yeah, I think Toya can run this deck really solidly, and I kind of want to see what that looks like. So, I know this is kind of a longer video, but like I said, this is my first webcam tournament. I think it went really well. I placed the highest I've ever placed in a regional, 26th place. Not the top 16 or the top 8, but it was enough to earn me extra championship points, and I did better than I actually expected to, especially given no real prior experience with the character and building this deck 4 days prior to the tournament. And I actually had one of my 4th Endeavor opponents tell me that I reignited his love for 4th Kind, and he asked me for my build after the match, which I had to wait until after the tournament because I hadn't tweaked it online to match what it was. So now he's out having fun with his version of this fourth kind. So yeah, what do you guys think? Would you have seen fourth kind coming in this kind of a meta? Or do you think he would just be, kind of dead in the water against some of the heavy hitters of the format? I don't know what he would do against Osui 3. Probably not a lot, considering Osui 3 can probably outdraw him, drawing a billion cards. Like I said, I wasn't prepared for all younger Toguro, but I was definitely prepared for the death version, and didn't see a single one, which made me sad. But yeah, I just thought fourth kind would be a really cool, out there pick that no one would think of, and it proved me right. I went 4-3, which is great for my first webcam regional. Took 26th place, and I had a great time. Even when I lost, I didn't feel bad about it because I was just having a blast playing, and all of the matches I lost were usually really, really close. Like, except for the Mineta 2, which I felt like I had no chance simply because he can debuild me every turn, and as a 5-hander, I struggle with foundations in the first place. So outside of that match where I felt like there was no way to win, every match, even the ones I lost, I felt were really, really close, and I really had a shot, and it just came down to my rival played better, which is going to happen. But yeah, so thanks for sticking with me through all of this. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. I do deck profile content. I'm trying to get one video out a week right now while I finish up a big project I'm working on, which should be unveiled soon, hopefully within the next week or so. But then I'll go back to my regular 2 deck profiles a week. If you like this deck, please leave a like on the video. Let me know what you think of the deck down below, or what you would change if you were to run this type of a fourth kind deck, or this type of strategy if you would run a different character. But yeah, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one. Until next time, guys, take care.